with our Burpsuite as per the last time we have done. So, okay, so we were taking the temporary project as per our need. Yes, and we were simply testing the test php.hub website. So this was our target websites to enumerate or to penetrate. So over here we can see the Burpsuite, and I'm going to use the temporary project again and use the Burpsuite default credentials. So startup, and over here the first thing we have to do is to enable the proxy. So over here we can use this one. Okay, so first of all, I guess I have to install the CS certificate as per our need. So each and every time we have to install the CS certificate according to the service. So let's install the CS certificate, which is your cert.dr file. And over here we have to go to the preference, and we have to enter on the view certificates, authorities import. Yes. So over here we can see the certificate has been installed. So we can browse easily. Yeah, so over here, the most important thing is the proxy. We have to enable the proxy services as per our need. And yes, so let's see, is it working again? Yes, now it's properly working. So our major concern was how we're going to use this one. So let's see, net port server device tool refusing to start a browser as your configuration does not support running without a sandbox. Okay. So over here it was the default credentials. Oh, so as we have done the last time, we have done the recon part with the you can say the crawling part, which is your new scan type. So we have identified lots of vulnerabilities over there one by one. So today we're gonna start. Let's have a look again. So what we have done in the new scan. So we're gonna take this one. Let's have a simple scan over there. The crawl audit part. And I can see that last time we were doing a crawling process to identify the directories and subdirectories on the source side. Yes, so it was on the simple website, which is your test.php, right? Yes, so over here we can see all the potential things we need over here. So still crawling to identify the number of parameter values, because the parameter values which is important for us. And what else we can do? We can simply use it for which parameter you want to look, filter out. So do you want to find the URL parameter? No, there was no URL parameter over there. So why I was looking for this kind of things over here? So the client request can be redirected to a different resource. No, there was nothing. So you can filter out, or you can simply identify the parameter values there which is looked for there. For example, my major concern would be CSRF token. If you can find anything relevant to CSRF. Nope. Something like CSRF. We can see the request code, which was 200 for success, 300 for redirection, 400 for request error, and 500 for server error. And we can see the meme type, which is your HTML, scripts, XML, SSS, others tests like images, Flash, other binaries. So my major concern would be how we're going to use all the parameter values to make a proper report and for a proper bug bounty part. So as I have mentioned, you can do the active scan to identify the host or the vulnerabilities according to your own need. Or you can see, we can try a new tool, which could be your content discovery part. Content discovery is major part of your Burpsuite, which is used for identifying the hidden directories on the server side, and it's an aggressive scan. It will identify all the loopholes which is hidden over there, all the possibilities, URLs, and the links and the hyperlinks. So we can try those things one by one to check all the things. So over here, you can see I have discovery sessions. Sisters use these settings to monitor the control of discovery sessions. Request made, bytes transfer, errors, configuration. You can see max depth, files and directories. If you want the files and directories, only the files, only the directories, it's all up to you. Or you can use your custom build files. File names, built-in short list, short directories list, long file list, long dictionary list, or your custom file list. Custom file means it's your own dictionaries that can be used. And the file extension, as I have mentioned you, that each and every website has a different file extension to use or to manipulate their data or transferring the data. Discovery engine, sensitive, insensitive, it depends on you. I will say automatic detection. And the sitemap will check all the possibilities on the URL you will see. So before this one, I'm gonna execute. Let's execute this one. Yes, URL is outside the content. Yes. So over here, you can see it's creating a request on the server, and the path they have filed out. And you will check which kind of file is it. Test observe the file is not extension, custom extension. This is a directory name. You can see, you will see all the things one by one. You can examine. Is it a user.php file, params.php file, list.php files. You can examine all the files one by one on the server to examine it, all the content discovery. The most important thing is to identify which kind of file is it. So our major concern would be how we going to penetrate or simply identify the hidden directories. So you can see the content has been discovering one by one. You can see that. So if you go to the configuration files or the sitemap, you will see the same result as we have discovered on the crawling part. But over there, you can finally examine which kind of file is it. And the most important thing is to examine. Yes, it was a parameter value. It was status. It was the length of the packet, the title of the file path, and the number of requests. The number of requests is important, right? Because it contains all the timestamp when the packet has been generated. Content discovery will only find the files which is hidden to a normal scan. So in this scenario, the most important thing is to enumerate the cells. So as you can see, that they are simply finding all the file paths, list.php, which is 200, and the container file, which is HTML file, which is pictures. And the most important thing is to check the response and request. Response and request. Request from the client side and response from the server side. And remember the drop packet, which is transferring from the client side. The get parameter, which is on your URL section, test.php.path. The headers, you can see the values over here given. The hexadecimal value, because in the backend side, it's going to only understand the binary codes. And the response services, which is your, you can see over here, 1 by 1. 200. So Burp Collaborator is basically used to identify the file type, and it can also used for any session related data. You can observe all the things over here. This is also used for recon part. Recon part, which we have to gather as much of information from the server side. And you can see the made request. 3000 has been requested. Byte per second has been transferred for the content discovery. And there are lots of further things that can be used over here. Burpsuite, as we have done before, the Burpsuite, we have done the recon part. Still, in the recon part, we have done the spider. We have done the spider is also known as crawl. So now we have done the content discovery. There's a tool. There are lots of tools that can be used for further testing part. Some sensitive data can be revealed over here. If you check for the google.com, for example, let me show you. Burpsuite content discovery. Either you can use the port swagger or you can simply use the medium reports. Let's search for some medium reports if you can find. Medium report helps a lot because there are some published authors. Content discovery, this function can be used to discover content and functionality which is not linked with from the visible content. See, which is not linked. So it means it's a hidden parameter values. Can you browse or spider? To access this function, select an HTTP request anywhere with the verb and part of the target sitemap and choose the content discovery with engagement tools in the content menu. Burps uses various techniques to discover content including name guessing, web crawling, exploitation from the names and converting observed in the application. You can see what are the things that can it do. This tab shows the current status of discovery sessions. Sessions which created between the client and the server. There are two things, target, start directory and discover. This is the location where the Burpsuite will start looking for the content. Only items will be path and subdirectories will be requested during that section. Discover. This option determines whether the session will be looked for like files or directories or both. If you are checking for directories, you can choose whether how deep the rescues are requested subdirectories. There are various techniques that can be used. Or we can simply look for how to brute force efficiently with the Burpsuite Pro with the medium. How Burpsuite can use by recon during the bug bounty. Recon everything. See. Remember one thing. If it doesn't know what to do, simply look for the other contents. Means the other hackers, developers, files. They are using WFOS or checklist to match in heaven. WFOS, as we know that WFOS is also used for finding out the directories and subdirectories on the server side. But the other thing is different. What tool I use for my recon during bug bounty? See. Kudos to you, Nico, for your help. Okay, there's a different thing. Thank you for the captions. Rewarded. They use sublister. This is not the part right now. We are not going to use sublister right now. We're going to use Burpsuite. If they are using Burpsuite, we can simply show it. Two good tools for content discovery. They have shown the search and yes, over here Burpsuite is your friend. JS Crypto. When browsing a website, be sure to run the Burpsuite tool before. It will not explain how Burpsuite works in this article, but it will tell you. Recon everything, enumerate everything. You have to look for all the things one by one. See, some topics will be given over there. Let's use Burp Collaborator. The next topic we're going to try is the Burp Collaborator. What is the use of Burp Collaborator, first of all? We're going to read about that one, and I'm going to use some medium reports, so that could be also helpful for you guys. So, how I explored out-of-bound resources, load HTTP with the Burp, deploy private Burp Collaborator services on Medium in Azure, becoming hacker, pen testing, Burp, bug bounty methodology. Remember one thing, if you're new in the subject, kindly read about each and everything. But what is the use of Burp Collaborator? And the Burp Collaborator, first of all, I have to simply stop this one because it's going to create some lots of logs. You can see 5,000 has been logs has been created, and we have to check all the possibilities one by one. Yes. Okay, so you can see there are lots of histories has been joined us. So let's use add to scope. Yes, please be enabled and show only scope. Yes, yeah, we can see that stuff. And over here, the most important thing is to check the parameter values. If you doesn't know the parameter values, please use the content discovery to identify which kind of file is passing through over there. So, what is a Burp Collaborator means over here? First of all, so Burp Collaborator is a network services that Burpsuite uses to help discover many kinds of vulnerabilities. It's basically your VS scan tool. A VS scan tool which is used for identifying and checking for the vulnerabilities which is not accessible. You can see some injection-based vulnerabilities can be detected using payloads that are trigger injection with an external system with successful injection of those. For example, they are talking about the blind explanation, which is very difficult to find. Vulnerabilities cannot be made to cause a difference in the content of timing and application response. They can be detected by using payloads. Some services-specific vulnerabilities can be detected by submitting payloads targeting. Those services can be application and analyzing the details of the result. You can see how the Burp Collaborator works. We have the Burpsuite, we have the application. It's like just like our mediator. We simply send some payloads on the server, out of the band payloads on the server, and the payload will respond to the Burp Collaborator and it will be monitored through the Burpsuite. So over here, you can see that they have given how we can use Burp Collaborator. Burp Collaborator is used by Burp scanners, manual Burp Collaborator client, and can be used for Burp extender APIs. So Burp Collaborator can run a single server that provides custom implementation of various network resources. It uses its own dedicated domain names and server is registered as the authoritative DNS server for the domain. It is provide a DNS service that answers any lookup for the CSM code. So there have lots of things can be happen over there. But the most important thing, if you are using the Burp Collaborator, remember to identify the parameter value because you have to specify the parameter value. And you have to specify with HTTPS, just like this one. So a typical external service interaction issues can be detected as follows. Burp sends a payload to the application containing a URL that is random subdomain or the collaborative domain. For example, the param means the parameter value. Remember, this is the parameter value over here. So over here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how we're going to use it to identify the loopholes on the server side. So over here, you can go to the, you can see over here on the Burp, there is, you can see in the last line, there is a Burp Collaborator. Click copy to the board to generate a Burpsuite Collaborator payload that can be used in your own testing. Any interaction that result can be used for payload appear below. So remember one thing, if you copy the clipboard, you will see they will generate only one payload. Let me show you over this. Copy this one. Burp Collaborator. So Burp Collaborator payload will be something like this. Let's create some more payloads. So I'm going to use 10 payloads. See now, there will be 10 payloads according to the Burp Collaborator. So this Burp Collaborator is basically used to identify the vulnerabilities on the server side also. So for that case, we're gonna use only one because we need only one file. So let me check. Yeah, it says a different one. So I'm gonna remove all these things from above. And this was your HTTPS because the Burpsuite is interacted with the HTTPS websites. So see, you have to specify the HTTPS. And the most important thing is to simply use it on the parameter value. So let's move over here. Yes, we're gonna check this one. So this is a testing website, and we know that this will be some vulnerability application. So I'm gonna use in any of the parameter values. For example, and remember one thing:
it will pull after 60 seconds. It will take time for execution. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take any of the parameter values. For example, let's see this one. The cat is equal to, which is a 200, which is an HTML format, which is a get parameter also. So we're gonna take this one. So we're gonna use show response in browser. Yes, so it was on the cat.php file, but our payload should be over here. So I'm gonna copy this one, entire one, to identify if there is a vulnerability according to the server. So the cat thing is the parameter value, as I mentioned you. So remember this thing. Let me show you again. So how to identify the web vulnerabilities, and you can see, you can talk about the format. So let me show you one thing. So I'm going to use domain name again over here, file type dot programming languages, language I will say, question mark with the parameter is equal to the value. So compare this one. Domain name is your test.php, file type is your list.product file.php, programming language is a PHP, and parameter is your cat with the value is anything. But over here, the value we can transfer is our Bug Collaborator. So let's execute this one. So let's have a hit. So you have an error in your SQL syntax. We know that we have an error, but the most important thing is to identify with over here. Or you can wait for that vulnerability, or you can use the pull now command. Pull now command will be used for fetching the data in less time. So I guess we have to wait for the 60 seconds, or we can simply check over here. Become hackers, hacking nodes, penetration testing. You can see over here they have given some penetration testing frameworks, BTF, Blackarc, Burpsuite, Swagger, which is. But over here, these are some tools they are using for identifying each and everything. Okay, these all have given some directories and commands. Okay, that's nice. Deploy private bug collaborator in the Microsoft Azure. Okay, so what they have done. Azure machine have port forwarding, SMTP, you can see one by one, get a domain, making a collaborator configuration file. We remember the public and private key uses. Collaboration file over here. Run the collaborator. Okay, I guess this was not the thing we are looking for. Burpsuite collaborator. How I use the environment of using the collaborator. Let's see this one. Turborator. So bug collaborator arguments conventional testing model with a new component distinct with the Burpsuite target, capture external interaction, target with the triggered Burpsuite payloads, deliver attack against server side. Ah, that's cool. So I guess over here it's not pulling the any of the applications. Okay. Still no issue, but we can use it for the different parts. But the most important part is to, if it's not working on the cat parameter, you have to look for any of the redirection parameter values. Due to program behavior intended on the device, the application fetches the content of the URL. Do this will first perform a DNS lookup on the random subdomain and then perform an HTTP request. The DNS lookup will HTTP request. You can see they are going to send all the things one by one. The bug pulls the collaborator server and task. Did you receive any injection of the payload? As, a, as the collaborator returns the injection details, bug reports external source. So our major concern would be to identify if we can simply check one by one. And my major concern, if I execute the payload, if I executed the payload, I need a proper value of the data to fetch. So if it was an HTTPS, we can simply remove this one and so I was basically pulling the data and I didn't get any injection with the server. So every pulling second will wait for the. I just need the content type over here. Yeah, so this is also a recon part. You can also use it for vulnerability scanner part. So let's move on to our next part. Are you sure you want to close the program and you can the payload log lost? Okay, yes, we don't have that much of time for this. So the next thing we're gonna use is our next module. That would be the Burpsuite cookbook. So over here, what we're gonna do, we're gonna use the repeating with the repeater. So what is the function of repeater first of all, and what is the use of it? So repeater allows a slight changes of the tweak of the request and it display in the left hand side windows. Go button allow to request to be issued and response to displays in the right hand windows. So it means tweak means we can change the request parameter according to our own need to check or to penetrate that thing. Details related to HTTP request include standard message editor such as your raw params. Raw params means your requested parameter value, just like your this one. So for example, the raw parameter they are talking about is the request which is made from the client side. The requested parameter you can see over here. The requested parameter which is basically used to identify the content of the data, which is a get, accept, image file. This is an accept header, referrer header, user agent header, your host header, your connections. You can see all the things possibilities over here one by one. So what else we can check? We can see that if we can through the repeater we can modify or tweak anything we want. So over here, details related to HTTP request include standard message. We can see over here raw packet. Details related to HTTP response include standard message editor, which includes the raw headers, which is a response we are talking about. This is a response and this is a request. So you can see over here they have given how to use. If you have the parameter value, you can see in the HTTP history. You can send to this repeater, and through the repeater you can examine this one. For example, see this. So let's go to the proxy HTTP history. You will see all the possibilities. The website which I visited right now. So you can see all the files which is your test.php. In scope only. Because there was lots of websites regarding Google, Facebook and all. So you can use your show only scope websites. The parameter values you can simply specify this thing. Or we can go to the target and we can select our content file. So I just want the 200 and 300 and ASP.js files. Yes, hide empty files. Okay, show only the request parameters. Yes, so let's see if we can find any request parameters. Sorry. Or what we can do, we can show only the parameter request. Yeah, we can try this one. You will see only the parameter values.
So the filtration part is important over here. Filtration where you can use it for specifying all the things one by one. So my major concern would be how are we going to check all the things, because the parameter values are important. Let's see, the test.php is also parameter value, which is a search parameter. So over here, what we're going to do, we can try to manipulate or execute. So I'm going to use the search parameter as our post request. So right click, through the right click, you can see some applications like Intruder, repeater, sequencer, comparer response, show response in browser. So we're going to use the repeater mode. So through the repeater, we can see that if we have find any parameter value which is vulnerable to any of the things. So over here, remember two things. The parameter values are important. The request contains some parameter values. So you can see that they are test parameter, they are search for parameter, and the go parameter, and the values they have given. So and the headers and the hexadecimal values, which is converted with the client side with the binary code. So our major concern would be I'm going to use the repeater to modify the payload. So first of all, let's check. It's a search parameter, so it will search any of the queries on the server side. So let's write craw. Yeah, so over here I can see that it executes the craw. But this is a search php.test fields query. So over here, the data which is transferring, which is this one. And there was a go button, which is also parameter value. So my mistake. So what are we going to do? We're going to change this one. And I'm going to write craw over there. Yes. So we're going to write craw over there. So this is a simple parameter file. So do I can see craw over there? Yes, we can see craw was reflected. So show response in browser. So over here I can see the craw word was reflecting from the website parameter. So as a security analyst, what I can do, I can simply check if we can find any vulnerabilities according to this one. So there is a thing that we can simply change. We can simply use options tags to identify if there are any allowed headers that we can use. Okay, if you doesn't know the option tag, let me show you what is the use of option tag over here. So say this one. These are also your application that can be used for identifying. For example, remember the four things, which is your head, trace, options, and put command. So head function is the same way to get the request, except the server should not return a message body in the response code. It's in the header. The server should return the same header, which will return the corresponding get request. A get request which is created by the client side. Trace is designed for diagnose purpose. The server should return in the response body exact content of the request message is received. This can be used to detect the effect of any proxy server between the client and the server. Options ask the server to report HTTP methods are available. Listen, this one. Options ask the server to report the HTTP method that are available for a particular resource. The server typically returns a response containing allow headers a list of available methods. A server could allow different kinds of techniques over there. Put command, put attempts to upload a specific resource to the server. Put command, get command, using the content in the body which is requested. If this method is enabled, you may be able to leverage or attack applications such as uploading an arbitrary script and execution on the server side. So if the put command is enabled and if you can upload it on the server side, it can be a disaster over there. And the most important thing which I told you that time, the URL, which is your uniform record resource locator, and remember the protocol, the host name, the port number, the path, the file, the parameter, and the value, which I already mentioned you, and which will look like this: HTTPS, mat.net, authentication, port 4448, your details.path, which is a file path, and the programming language, the parameter, which is this one, and this was your file. So in this scenario, the most interesting thing is to identify the parameter values. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna, if I'm a pen tester, this is search parameter. It will reflect only. So I'm gonna use a simple script, a normal JavaScript. Alert. Hmm? Let's use document.cookie. Let's have a look. The most important part, the payload, which is over here, is a JavaScript payload. And on the server side, when I simply use the send button, it executed, which is 200 from the server side. It means the payload, which is from the client side, has been executed properly without any problem. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a right click and show response in browser. In the show response in browser, it will create a URL that can be used for manipulation part, and copy the URL. And over here, I can see if it executes the payload. Okay, so it didn't execute the payload, so something went wrong over here. Let's use it again.
Script, tag script. Okay, so let me name this one Craw Sec. I'll let Craw Sec.
Something went wrong over here.
Script tag. Alert Craw Sec. Okay, so let's do one thing over here. Let's write hello 1. Let's try hello 2, hello 3. Let's see this one, which hello is reflecting. None of the hello was reflecting over there. Okay, that's why it was not good. Okay, so I think this parameter was not vulnerable. So we can look for different parameter values. For example, we can check for the cat parameter value, send to repeater, and there was only one parameter. So what we can do, we can simply change a simple payload, a script, alert, raw. Let's see, so response in browser. Yeah, we're getting some errors because I guess we have used lots of collaboration tools. That's why it's not working over here. So let me change over here if we can simply execute this one. Yeah, so now it's working. I forgot to mention this was a string. So when you are simply passing the string, you have to use a single quote or double quote, depends on the application part. So my major concern would be to check all the possibilities one by one to identify all the threat management. So the repeater part can be used in different things. If you search for the Burpsuite repeater, let's use the medium because I basically look for the medium reports. So repeater, web page animation and vulnerabilities, Burpsuite Risky, vulnerabilities for the quality assumptions, attack scenarios plugin. There are lots of things that we use over here.
this is Ramsa Karen. Okay, she will allow us to read about what is your Burpsuite, what is called Proxy, Intruder, Scanner, and your decoder. So over here they have mentioning all the default credentials. Yeah, this is the default one. And this was on the DWA. So my major concern would be we're gonna check one by one. So over here, we're gonna try to check the further repeater applications, repeater functions. So I will prefer you when you are simply doing when you are using the Burpsuite. Please, I will recommend you this one. There are further things we can use over here, just like your decoder over here. Decoder is basically used to decode. Burpsuite decoder tools allow used to tester to convert the raw data into encoded data or take encoded data into and convert it back to the plain text. Decoder supports several formats, including URL encoding, HTML encoding, basic encoding, binary code also, and this can be used in different techniques. And why the use of decoder? Because some of the applications can pass it the encoded files, so we can use the Burpsuite decoder to decode the things or encode the files. For example, if I write Craw Sec over here, just a normal word over here. And we can see there in the right hand side, we can use decoder as, but this is already decoded. So we're gonna use encode. So you can see plain text, URL, HTML, your base 64, your ASCII values, it depends on that. But over here, for example, suppose if I'm writing a payload, like your script over here, with the alert function, and my payload, which is your document dot cookie parameter. Sometimes what happens, the server will basically decode or stop the request because it's not allow any application like just like these attributes. So what you can do, you can simply check. You can simply highlight these things and you can simply encode this one as per your need. See, I simply encoded the first, which is your greater than sign. You can use it over here also to encode. Some of the parameter values, they simply use it for HTML part, URL. See. But it will execute when it will execute on the server side. It will execute the document.cookie, same as here. And if you want to check, I can simply show you. It was raw, I guess. Yes. So let's copy this one and check it over here. See, it can change the behavior of the you can say the delimiter of the parameters, but it will execute on the server side on the real face. Or what we can do, we can change the entire value. It was encoded in the URL section. So if I write over here, it will also execute. See. The decoder is basically used to encode any of the parameter value which is basically blocked by the server side. And there are various techniques that we can use it for the further process. Same just like your other tools, just like your you can see over here, Intruder is one of the best tools for also use it for brute forcing attack. Repeater, Windows, you can see in the Windows, you can see they have given the Intruder repeater sequencer. But detach, we don't want to detach this one. Sorry. So in the help menu, you can see download other installers, clean Burpsuite from computer, diagnosed, report bugs, and lots of things. But over here, we're gonna use the extender.
Extender applications, you can say Turbo Intruder. Turbo Intruder are basically used to perform the brute force attacks. And if you look for the Turbo Intruder, this will help you a lot. For example, Burp Store. The Burp Store over here is going to show you what are the applications are available that you can use it for installation part and the reconnaissance part. AWS auto repeater, you can use all the functionality. Anti-CSR token for referrer, and you can see this extension will work for basically a new session handling called anti-CSR token from referrer. This handles inspect all the requests and search for the anti-CSR token parameter in the get, post, JSON, and multi request. So this will we're gonna use this tool over here when we are coming to the CSRF cross-site request 4G attack. The Burp Beautify. There are lots of tools that you can use it over here. But remember, if you are using the tool, please CSV calculator. This is basically used to find the rating site. You will find all the vulnerabilities, etc. over here. WordPress scanner. See. Okay, I have to download Jonathan first. Okay, it's not Jonathan, it's Japan. So the dashboard, the target, the proxy, the intruder, the repeat, not the intruder. We're gonna come on this side. The repeater. So in repeater, it can be used in various techniques. You can simply pass the values over here in the encrypted format. There are techniques that we can use it over here. You can also use it if you don't want to execute on the server side. You can use it for the parameter value because this is also a URL based data. And the most important thing is to check the behavior. Is it executing or not? Sometimes what you can do, you can change the request method also, or you can change the body encode part. Change you copy URL, copy as your command curl, copy as per, save history, and you can change body encoding. You can use it also. Just you have to highlight this one, and it can be also used for encoding part. Let me show you how does it look. So change body encoding. Or you can do one thing, URL encode as type. To convert the URL. Which kind of URL you want? Is it a URL decode, URL encode, or we're gonna use Control C. Okay, why it's not changing over here? This is problem I get. Ah, it was already in URL format. Sorry. So the repeater word is basically used to custom the query over here, or over here you can simply add a new query. Attacker simply adds some new queries over here, a new header that can be used for executing part. As we talk about the intruder, Intruder is one of the tools which is basically used for brute forcing attack. So let's have a look over here on the intruder, which is over this one. So they have given the simplest layman language over here. The burp intruder allows a tester to brute force or first the specific portion of the HTTP message and using customized payload. So burp intruder is used in various techniques that can be used for bracing and lots of other things. Yes. So what we can do, we can try different kinds of things over here. For example, if you look for the Burpsuite Intruder, using Burpsuite, see over here they have given a proper one. The most important thing is the definition to understand. It's basically used to perform a brute force attack on the web application or the API. So using Burp Intruder is a tool for automating customized attack against a web application. It is extremely powerful and configured, can be used to perform a huge range of tasks and perform a simple brute force attack. So they have given lots of things they can use over here. For example, you can see uh, enumerating, identify, harvesting useful data, fuzzing the vulnerabilities, or what is called vulnerabilities in password login page, and the brute force attack. So what exactly a brute force attack over here? Brute force attack can be happen in your brute forcing on username, brute forcing in your password, for username enumeration also, and they have given some tasks. So this was the web security web academy part. Web security academy, yes. A brute force attack in an attacker can use a system or a trial and error into attempt to guess valid usernames, which tests can typically automate it. So wordless and usernames and passwords. And it can use it for guessing lots of further things for it. You can see username, password, annotations, some other techniques we can use it for. Same website. There was nothing else. Getting started with the Burp Intruder. Okay, I always read the note because the only thing which is highlighted over there. Using Burp Intruder may result in an unexpected effect in some application until you are fully familiar with that functionality. And let me show you one thing. If you are using the Burpsuite Intruder, remember the type of attacks are important. And there are 4 types of attack: a sniper, a battery grab, a pitchfork, and cluster bomb. And these 4 have different kinds of functionality that can be used for the reconnaissance part or the information gathering part. See, and the most important thing is the payload type which you are using. So there are around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 payloads. So remember, if you are using a specific payload to be attacked, clear the tags first of all. For example, this is not a proper way to show you the attack type, but I'm going to show you how to use this one. If suppose the parameter value you have to attack on this one, and this is a single parameter value, so you have to add a tag. So the payload one hasn't set. So if you go to the option tag, the payload tag is important. Why? In the payload tag, you have to you can use payload type, run file, custom iterator, character substitution, case modification, recursive grabs, legal Unicode characters. You can use all this in one word. Null payloads. You can generate your own payloads over here, or you can use character former. But I didn't use the character formers. I basically use the numbers, the number of times from OTP bypassing. We're gonna learn lots of things in the intruder part. Or you can simply use the simple list payload. So where you can simply add your own names, like your Craw Sec. You can add this one. You can write security. You can write any of the payload you want, or you can load the payload if you have your own. Sorry. Prosac, admin security, password, root, call, prints. Yes, you can see all the things. And you can simply use it for brute forcing attack. And that could be used in various techniques and methods. So the most important thing is to understand the attack type. Remember, first thing I will still say, just examine the behavior of the application. Like, the behavior of the application is important for us, and that can be used in various techniques and prompts. And the payload type, which is given over here, which payload you're gonna use. Attacker use different kinds of payload. They have different types of approach to do. So our major concern would be how we're gonna check one by one. There are lots of things that we can use it over here, and I'm gonna show you all the things one by one in our upcoming sessions. Most of the things we have focused on the Burpsuite. We're gonna check all the possibilities and we're gonna check the vulnerabilities one by one in our upcoming sessions. And today we just simply use some of the few attacks over here. And over here, as I mentioned you, these books are really helpful for us. Establish a trust over the TCP, configure spidering, scanning, and reporting with the Burpsuite, getting node to the Burpsuite tools, and they are giving some other vulnerabilities. Implementing advanced topic of attacks. See, remember one thing. You will see that most of the application they are using XCC, some JSON web token, using Burp Collaborator to determine server-side request 4G attack and the course. They have given all the things. See, they're gonna put a Burp Collaborator payload, XML validator, JSON beautifier, intruder part. Okay, so you can use it for modifying the data or the JSON web token, which is also used in various techniques to identify the hidden API tokens using Burpsuite Collaborator. Yeah. SSRF is a vulnerability that allows an attacker to force application to make unauthorized requests on the attacker's behalf. It attacks in its own local server. You can see miscellaneous Burp Collaborator uses Burp Collaborator. You can use it for pull attack, and you will see if they can find any vulnerabilities success. And over here, server resolution, server HTTP connections, trust. You'll see all the things one by one because it interact with the DNS part. Burp line collaborator, DNS lookup, send to repeater, intruder, and they are basically attacking on the target host. And you can set all the payloads over here one by one. They have given the things that you can use it over here. So over here, this book is really helpful for your bug bounty part if you are not familiar with the Burpsuite. This book, the bug book, and the web application hacker handbook. So these things are really helpful. So this was all for the day.